The Benjamin Dixon Show is only possible with listener support. Go to www.thebenjamindixonshow.com to register for our blog and join the Progressive Army.
Fascinating weekend that we have just come through. Bernie Sanders won Nevada convincingly, showing that he is the definitive front runner, and he has dispensed with this notion that he has a problem with minorities. Not only did he win in Lily White, Iowa, I'm just going along with the narrative, right? That's what they call it. Not only did he win in Lily White, New Hampshire, again, those are not my words. That's pretty much what mainstream media has been referring to those two states as, suggesting that when he got to Nevada, that he was going to have a problem because they're real minorities in Nevada. And Bernie Sanders ran up the scoreboard on every single category. He won every category: blacks, whites, Latino, elderly, boomers, Generation X, Generations Z, millennials. He won with college educated people. He won with non-college educated people. He won in every single category. I believe he got 46%, more than all of the other candidates combined. Up until this point, mainstream media has been doing this thing. I saw someone on Twitter refer to it as the moderate Voltron, where they would combine they would combine all of the totals from the moderates and throw in Elizabeth Warren for good measure and say, look, see, Bernie Sanders can't even beat the moderates. Because as we all know, 5 people joined together to run against a single person is how we run our presidential campaigns here in the United States. But alas, the media is starting to come to terms with it. CNN is starting to come to terms with Bernie Sanders. Fox News already came to terms with it. They're terrified of it. MSNBC is the last one to get on board, coming on board, admitting that Bernie Sanders is not only viable, but the probable and eventual nominee. And it simply is what it is. And there's nothing much that they can do about it except their last Hail Mary. Their last Hail Mary has been an all-out assault on the meanness of Bernie Sanders supporters. See, we're mean, therefore we can't possibly be what America is about. We're angry, so we can't possibly be the representatives of the front runner. They can't possibly vote for Bernie Sanders because we're upset and we're mean all the time online, and it's just so mean to us. Is essentially what they're saying, is their argument. So goes their argument. And I've been really thinking about this weekend. Really, it's been a thing. Lots of media. I have a lot of video clips, audio clips that I'm going to play for you as we go throughout the show. But I want to make this point up front. I'm going to frame it the same way. I'm going to frame it the same way I did on Twitter and ask the question, have you not seen America? Have you seen America? Have you seen the conditions that people are living in? Have you seen the poverty? This is not a rhetorical question. Have you driven through the opulence of your city only to see the tent city below? Right. Have you seen, even more importantly than seeing it with your own eyes, have you ever experienced living on the edge? That's my first question to you, because if you've never experienced living on the edge, then you have no way of understanding why we would be so pissed off. Like, how could you not be pissed off with the system, with this country? How could you not be angry? Because if you've experienced being marginalized, being marginally housed, not really sure what your living arrangements are going to be, not really sure if you're going to be in this apartment next week or if you're going to have to move out. Not really. I mean, if you've ever been marginally housed, including sleeping on friends' couches, sleeping on your brother's couch, right? If you've never been in a situation where you did not know how you were going to buy food, I literally have, as an adult, been in the situation where if it was not for me sleeping on my brother's couch, and if it was not, me and my younger brother, like there was a period there where we were living in our brother's place and we did not have money for food, literally. And both of us were working. It was the cost of living. The cost of living is so exorbitant. Just the price tag of survival is so expensive in this country that more people than you can imagine are living on the edge. And when I say the edge, I mean just one gust of wind, one sneeze. If they sneeze too hard, they will be in the overdraft. If they move too quickly, if they stumble, then they will have their car repossessed. People are living on the edge. Okay. And I don't think we appreciate it because so many of us have been away from the edge for so long that we forgot what that was like, or you never experienced it. And I think it's the latter. I think you never experienced living on the edge because I have, and I've been away from the edge. I've had moments in my life where I was not doing bad. Let me say it like this. I've had brief moments in my life where I was doing good. But most of my life, I've lived on the edge. And the thing is, most of us are pretty damn brave. And we compartmentalize the sheer terror of not knowing how we're going to eat. And we just compartmentalize that fear, that terror, that ever looming terror that we don't know where we're going to sleep tomorrow. We compartmentalize that so that we can function in this system enough to get a chance to get out of it. See, we're still stupid enough to believe that we can work our way out of a system that's designed to keep us down. And it took a few generations, but here we are, ladies and gentlemen, non-gender conforming individuals. Here we are in a place where now the generations have looked at ourselves and looked at this country, and we looked at each other and realized there are millions of us who are living this reality every single day to varying degrees. Listen, as far as insurance is concerned, I have none. So that is my big thing right now. My big thing, and financially, right? It's tough in these streets. Go become a patron, right? Patreon.com/the BPD show. You guys have been intricate in maintaining and sustaining, right? But my number one thing is the fact that I don't have health care, and I'm quickly approaching that age where people are going to have to start probing stuff on me to make sure that I don't have certain types of cancers and whatnot. But when I say it is all relative, there are people who will look at my condition and my situation and my state in life and swear I was the luckiest man in the world. And so I have to look behind me and realize that there are so many people behind me who have been living on edge in a way that I cannot imagine ever handling. I'm going a very long way to try to help you to understand. If people are angry online, it's because they have been living on edge their entire life, and now they finally see a politician who represents the change, the very specific change that we need to address our material conditions. Let me see if I can say it plainly. We finally found somebody who understands what the hell we're going through. And we see all around him the establishment playing these pitiful little games, trying to stop us from getting what we know we need for our basic survival. If you were a person desperate and living on the edge, trying to create a system that could benefit you, trying to work peacefully through the system to get access to what we need, and then all of a sudden you saw the system lying. You saw the system changing the rules. You saw the system embracing a billionaire who represents the very income inequality that is a part of our everyday life. I'm sorry, but I think that a few mean tweets is the least of your worries. You privileged pricks. You who have never had to understand what it's like to not know if you can feed your kids, to not know if the lights are going to be on today, to not know whether or not your car got repossessed this morning. And it's not, and for you who look at us who have been in this struggle and make some kind of moral judgment about our shortcomings, you don't even have the backbone enough to survive a day the way that we have had to survive our entire lives. You cannot survive a day handling the stress of living marginalized, of being marginal and living on the edge. You would collapse under the pressure. You would implode, and you have the nerve to cast some type of moral judgment on us because we're angry? The very least of your worries are our mean tweets. You should be glad we're expressing our anger on Twitter. You should be grateful that we have someone we can organize around that we believe is going to actually challenge this system to work for working people. You should be grateful that we have found a way to work this rage, this unimaginable rage, this fury that is boiling underneath millions of people around this country. You have no idea how grateful you should be that we are on Twitter and that we are going to the ballot box. Because when we think about the fact that you all are around here eating golden motherfucking donuts, and some of us don't have anything to feed our kids, and yet we are still, the best that we could do with working 40 hours a week is to keep a roof over their heads if we're lucky. There are families who are working and still going to a homeless shelter. And you're upset about some mean tweets? Let me learn you something. JFK. Those who make peaceful revolution impossible will make violent revolution inevitable. Be grateful that we are working through this political system. Be grateful that we are expressing our anger with our words on Twitter. And you better think twice about trying to steal this election from us. I'm just saying, we're choosing a peaceful revolution.
Go to www.patreon.com/The BPD Show and support The Benjamin Dixon Show.
Well, all right. I didn't know if I would be able to pull myself out of that rage trap I caught myself in. But let's have a patron party. Very special welcome and thank you to all of our newest patrons. Welcome aboard, Anarcho Hyrax. Thank you for becoming a patron. Helga, thank you for becoming a patron. Miles Curtis. Very special thank you to QZ. You didn't think I was going to read that, did you? Very special thank you to Jackie Schwartz Craig, Randy Smith, Alina M, Leo Charles. Very special welcome and thank you to Will Hahn, Jennifer Poors, Luke Hoffer. Very special thank you to Jonathan Matz. Very special thank you to Walter Holmesy, Benta Campbell, Ben Stryker, Abigail Trice. Very special thank you to Steve Krasinski. Steve K. Very special welcome to Stanford McConaughey. Very special thank you to Sylvia K. Beef Hard Cheese. I love it. Very special welcome to Tucker Sparks. Very special thank you to Lisa English Shakan. I'm sorry. Grace Lynn, thank you so much for becoming a patron. Very special thank you to Sue White. Very special thank you to Alcivar Perez. Very special thank you to Arthur Chambers. Very special thank you to Zathro. Very special thank you and welcome to Faralda FB. I'm sorry for Farilda. I just massacred your name 7 different ways. I apologize. Very special welcome to Joe Money. Very special thank you to Ray Sneed. Very special thank you to Kate Knight. Thank you for becoming a patron. Mark, thank you so much for increasing your pledge. Very special thank you to Gavin. Very special thank you to John Paul Black. Very special thank you to, let's see, is there anybody else? I feel like there's more. Very special thank you to Jacob Stanley. Very special welcome to Adrian. Thank you so much to Mark Hacham for becoming a patron. Daniel Connolly, I see you. Thank you for joining the Dark Money crew. Very special thank you to Teresa Vreeland. Very special thank you to Janet for increasing your pledge. Very special thank you to Brian Frederick. Mark Hacham again, twice, Mark. Thank you. To Dr. Jai, thank you so much for becoming a patron. Very special thank you to Vinny Cavalier. And very special thank you to Adam Sparks. I feel like I think I repeated these names, but just to be safe, very special thank you to Paula Dorfman, Rafi Benjamin, Rafi B. Thank you for becoming a patron. And last but not least, very special thank you to Anonymous. I love it. Carol Guys, Juliet Bagel, Jay Robinson, Samuel Finkenstein, John Dillon, DeJuan Eastman, Drew Powell, Nick Reith, Clay D, and Lanzinator. Thank you for becoming a patron. That's a lot of patrons, folks. Wait a minute. 2 more. Joseph Rotula. Thank you for, I know I killed that last name. I'm sorry. And Donnie Russell. All right. Now we're done. We're officially done. You too can join this ever increasing family of patrons by going to www.patreon.com/the BPD show and becoming a patron now. Your support is more critical than ever. It is just literally me, my microphone, and my patrons. There are no other corporate sponsors. There's no other investors. It's just me. The money that you see me making on my patron page, that's what I make to do this show. I do get a couple of dollars from those of you who listen to ads. So thank you for listening to ads. If you don't want to listen to ads and you want twice as much show, go to patreon.com/the BPD show. And let me tell you, every single episode of the bonus show from here forward is going to get every show is going to be, let's just say I have a whole lot more to share with you all that I have just been holding back. I have been holding back probably 90%, 90% of what I want to say. And I am just now starting to release everything that I wanted to say to patrons. Yes, this is a ploy to get you to become a patron. Yes. But also the things that I want to talk about, I think have to be talked about behind closed doors, right? You don't say everything into, to forward facing company. Some things you just share with the closest circle that you have. All right. I want to get back really quickly before this. Actually, no. Commercial break for those of you who are supporting me by listening to commercials. I think we'll play it right here. Okay. For those of you, everybody's back. Let's go a little bit further on this conversation because I think it is a critical and a pivotal change in our narrative. In how we're going to win this election and how we're going to push back against their last line of defense. I think last week I really focused on the fact that anyone who can't handle mean tweets, they're decidedly unqualified to go up against Donald Trump. Right. If you're a presidential candidate and you're complaining about mean tweets, then you're not what we need to go up against Donald Trump. If you're a supporter of a presidential candidate and you're concerned about mean tweets, you're certainly not prepared to go up against MAGA. Right. So last week I really focused on the hubris side because there's a hubris to this, right? You have to have a certain level of gall to get out here and do the things that we do and say. But I think it's going to be critical for us to weave all these narratives simultaneously, like to go back and forth. 1 minute, we're going to say, listen, toughen up. This is the way politics goes. If you can't handle it, then get out of politics. Right. But then the next one is, I think what I outlined is so true. It's like you really don't understand what people are going through in this country if you're offended by anger. And we have to call out people like the famed director Ava DuVernay, who, because Bernie Sanders called out the Democratic and Republican establishment, she tweeted that she's undecided, but she knows she doesn't want this. She knows she doesn't want Bernie Sanders. She knows she doesn't want this type of, I guess, divisiveness. But here's the thing, and I want to make sure people are crystal clear on this. There are a lot of people who are perfectly fine with how this system works. You know why? Because it works for them. And those people make up the establishment and all the people on the periphery. There are a lot of people. When I say a lot, I don't mean the majority. it's really a small group, but when I say a lot, I'm talking about a few thousand people. Let's say there's 100,000 people who benefit from the establishment directly. And then you got to calculate in their families and whatnot. But there's still so many more of us who are strangled by this establishment, such that we understand that it's not just Donald Trump who's a problem. It's all of the Democrats who would prop up an oligarch, another Republican racist, sexist oligarch, in order to stop us from obtaining the very modest things that you call, that you're afraid of, that you think is socialism, that you think is communism. And what it really is just ensuring that every single American has a baseline of standard living, where we could go see a doctor when we have chest pains, where we can go and have a dentist fix our abscessed tooth or pull it out, right? Before it becomes so infected that it gives us a brain infection. And then we end up having to have $300,000-$400,000 worth of surgeries just to stay alive. Like, for people who have had to cut their abscessed tooth in order to drain out all of the infected fluid out of their mouth in order to survive long enough, because they sat with an abscessed tooth for 3 or 4 years. And normally that's long enough to probably kill somebody, but they got innovative enough to like drain it every day. You know, there's some of us out here who are living a life that cannot be compared to the modest discomfort that the establishment is going to experience. You're not going to ever stop being a millionaire or a billionaire. Bernie Sanders isn't coming for that. But what you might end up having to do is pay 2%, 3%, or maybe 4% more in taxes so that the rest of us can survive and can do a little bit better than survive, but try to thrive. If nothing else, all we really want, all the working class is really asking for in this era, maybe it's our fault for not asking for more. But all we're really asking for is, can you let us come from off of the edge, living on the edge every single day, facing the abyss, facing the reality that we are waking up for work late day from losing our job and going into a spiral that we don't know how we would ever recover from. That's living on the edge. Living on the edge for some people is like, can I get a place to sleep tonight for me and my kids? And the problem is that people are more offended by us critiquing, criticizing, and wholesale coming after the establishment than they are the conditions that the establishment has created. Right? For the establishment to thrive and prosper, they have built it on the back. They've built this system on the back of the idea that they have to extract the most wealth they possibly can from every single individual without giving us anything in return, or giving us the very minimum in return. They don't even want to give us a minimum wage. Talk to Mayor Bloomberg. His really deeply held belief is that there should be no minimum wage. And if there is a minimum wage, we certainly should not increase it. So forgive us if we have correctly identified that there are Democratic as well as Republican members of the establishment who benefit off of our misery, who profit off of our pain, literally, who make billions of dollars every year in profit off of those of us who are struggling with cancer. So if our demeanor is a little rough for you, you gotta understand what we've been through.
So what we are calling for is universal child care.
How are you going to pay for this?
We have a tax on wealth to pay for that.
For all the people who like the idea of it, there are going to be a lot of Democrats again who are saying, well, wait a minute, yet again, this is another program that it's not clear how it's going to get paid for.
No,
it's just going to add to...
It is clear how it's going to be paid for. Look, Anderson...
But it's just more taxes.
It's taxes on billionaires, you know? You know, I get a little bit tired of hearing my opponents saying, gee, how are you going to pay for a program that impacts and helps children or working class families or middle class families? How are you going to pay for that? And yet, where are people saying, how are you going to pay for over $750 billion on military spending? How are you going to pay for $1 trillion in tax breaks to the 1% in large corporations, which was what Trump did? When you help the billionaires and you help Wall Street, hey, of course we can pay for it. That's what America's supposed to be about. Well, I disagree.
I disagree as well. And here's the problem. We have been conditioned, my friends, you and I, all of us, every single one of us, we have been conditioned to accept the system as it is. Our television shows, our entertainment, our sporting events, our religion, everything has been designed to help us adjust to the harsh realities of living on the edge every single day. In reality, we're not human beings, we are some magnificent people. We can live on the edge of destruction. I mean, literally, like I'm talking, you have people who can walk on a knife's edge, who can walk on the top of a mountain on a pathway so narrow that if they sneeze, they'll fall to their death on either side. So both literally as well as figuratively, there are people who have lived on the edge all of their lives, and we have adjusted. And the system has made sure that there are things in place to help us adjust, to live with this reality where we give billions. No, we give trillions away to the wealthiest people in this country, and we never ask a damn question. But when it comes time for us to do something for the average person, for the masses for which none of this exists, right? There are no billionaires without the masses. You did not make that money by yourself. You are not a billionaire without the extracting the wealth from the working class, from the middle class, and the labor. You derived your wealth from our labor and our consumption. Every single billionaire. And yet, when it's time for us to do something for the people who created your wealth to begin with, all of a sudden everyone's like, well, I don't know how we're going to pay for it. We're going to pay for it by taxing you. And you should be grateful that that's all we want. I started in the last segment saying that maybe what we're asking for is too low. Maybe we're being too nice and too kind. Maybe you can't learn any other way. Maybe this political process that you set up, you will never allow it to become a threat to you. So why are we even bothering with this political process? And the reason we're bothering with this political process, the reason I am bothering with this political process is because I want my kids to grow up in a stable system. Because we see what the alternative looks like. We see what war-torn countries look like, countries that are torn for whatever reason. We see that we see what happens. But what I'm trying to tell y'all people, and we'll discuss this more with the Patrons episode, but what I'm trying to tell you is that when people have been living on the edge their entire life, and all it takes is the slightest push to push them over into hopelessness and despair, I've been saying it for the last couple of weeks, and I'm going to keep pushing it. You never know how people are going to respond when you take their hope away. And the hope that we have right now is that we can still fix this system for everybody through the electoral process. But if you are going to be so brash and so arrogant enough as to steal this from us, I don't really know how people are going to respond. I do not want anyone to respond with a lick of violence, because we can't win that way. But when people are hopeless, you can't predict how they're going to respond. So much more coming up after this. I need 100 more patrons. Go to patreon.com and let's finish the conversation after this.
The Benjamin Dixon Show is only possible with listener support. Go to www.patreon.com/The BPD Show and support The Benjamin Dixon Show. If you like this episode, be sure to share, like, and subscribe.